This is Hammond.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. It's
You
the
too.
End of the year.
It's the end of the year, so we're doing
year.
what we did
Garbage
last year, and we're going to try to do a rundown of pretty much everything fun that happened that we could squeeze in like an hour.
Well, last year it took us like 2 hours,
That's
and Hammond is feeling very optimistic about today.
Today, I have shit to do. By the way, for once, Jess sent me this spreadsheet of all the things she wanted to talk about, and I'm like, there's stuff on here. You know what that means? That means I'm not going to do anything.
What? Did I do all the work this week?
You did all the work this week.
And Kate McDonald. What's up, Kate?
Hi, Kate. Thank you.
I told her she had to be on G-Chat in case I needed to
Nice.
ask her a question about something she put in this sheet. She
So I'll let you take it away. I added a few things on here that I wanted to make sure we talked about, but it's mostly all you, so lead the way.
All right. So if you listened to last year, this is basically just I have a very detailed and color-coded spreadsheet.
It is color-coded.
It's very important to me, and it is every month and then broken out by the bad shit and the good shit. So without further ado, we're going to kick off with January. So obviously, the Trump inauguration was the first horrible, well, maybe not the first horrible thing, but the first notable horrible thing. So that was sort of a mess, and then the crowd size thing happened.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if that happened today, if Trump was lying about the crowd size or Sarah Sanders was lying about the crowd size, I don't know how big of a deal people would make of it. It's just like, well, this administration is lying about objective facts again.
Yeah, no.
But it seemed like such a big issue at the time, and it was. Like, we shouldn't minimize it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would argue that it's still a pretty big deal because it's like him and I looking at the same thing and like saying two different things.
Yeah,
like,
and one of them is wrong, and it's not us.
It's like objectively wrong.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me is we've just gotten numb to this, it seems.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Like, as we're taping this last night, Trump is like, I want global warming because it's really cold, blah, 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 whatever
and
he
some
tweeted.
guy from Jersey Shore tweeted back at him. Did you hear about this?
No, what did he tweet?
So Trump tweeted so it's Friday, December 29th. So last year we did in like early December, which I think was a mistake.
Yeah, too much happens now.
Too much happened. But so last night, Trump tweeted out something predictably dumb about, like, it's cold out, so global warming isn't real, is really, like, the thesis statement of it.
Yeah.
And somebody from Jersey Shore was like, actually, global warming is a lot more complicated than that. It has to do with water levels and currents and blah, 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 blah. And, like, and shit like that, which was just a gem of a tweet. And,
nice job, Snooki.
It was a dude. His name might have been Lenny. Is there Lenny in Jersey Shore? That's actually a huge.
Have you thought about who you're asking this question to?
Well, you're like Survivor. Maybe you're like
Survivor is not Jersey Shore.
Like
There's
those kinds of reality shows.
I will defend Survivor.
Are a blind spot for me personally.
But it is funny that someone from Jersey Shore could be like, "Let me tell you the science behind this thing."
Yeah,
because you don't get it, but I do.
Well, the thing is that he really represented you don't have to be a scientist to understand that global warming is more than, hey, it's cold out today, so global warming can't be.
And I think this has been a running theme for the entire year, which is the most powerful man in the world who has access to the smartest people in the world says the dumbest possible stuff in every situation.
Yeah.
All the time. It's like, I have to Google stuff if I want to learn things. I can try to reach out to people who know more than me about certain topics.
Right.
But for the guy who can literally do all of that with a snap of the fingers, he does none of it. And he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He really does think he knows better than everybody.
Yes. I was at the dog park today. It is 12 degrees out, but
yeah, what are you doing outside?
It's actually not. If you bundle up, it's really fun, and the dogs really like the snow. Although Dottie did run into a tree today with her face. It was a little tree, and it was like a fork in the. I felt
That's
bad.
very sad.
Anyway, am I off topic already?
No,
I
it's
can't
all
believe
good.
it.
It was happy though.
But she, the woman I was there with, and I were chatting about. She teaches special ed, so she was like, I feel like Donald Trump genuinely has like a personality disorder. So at what point, like, do you almost feel sorry for him?
No,
And and I
no.
agree. But he's also somebody who's never been told to know his entire life.
Right.
But I think at this point, like, given that maybe he does have a personality disorder, which is not for you or I to diagnose, but is not out of the realm of possibilities, then I think,
and even if he's not like
Right.
clinically
Unwell,
problematic or something, like still,
it's so, but
still a
then you have
problem.
to like look at the people who surround him,
Right.
who, in theory, are mentally stable and sound, and still are like, yeah, no, this is great. This tax bill is
and support everything he does and back
Right.
it and continue to back him. Yeah,
Right.
it's not just Trump, and this is an important thing. Never just criticize
Yes.
Trump, because he can't get away with any of this stuff unless all these people around him, all the Republicans surrounding
Yeah,
him,
I mean,
just
that's
support
there's a
everything
reason
he does.
Dictionary.com's word of the year was complicit.
Yeah.
Like, it's
If they didn't support his BS,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be happening. He wouldn't be making these tweets if he knew that he would get shit for it from his own party. But they don't
100%.
care.
No.
They literally don't care about any of this.
super don't.
So you had on the good shit
I had
for
the good
January
shit.
that the response to the Trump inauguration.
The Women's March
Yeah.
happened the day after inauguration, and you didn't go, did you?
No, there was a reason. I think we had a tournament that day, so I couldn't go.
sure.
But
Yeah, that was really an amazing thing to be part of. First of all, it was January in Chicago, and it was like 65 degrees,
Yeah.
which is a buck wild thing. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's 12 degrees out right now. So I went with a handful of friends of mine, and the response in Chicago, in downtown Chicago, was so big that at some point we all got like the tweet. You know, you're following it on Twitter because it's so
Yeah.
big. How else? They said, "Well, we can't really march anywhere because we filled up the marching
you
area."
stood in place.
Yeah, so I stood on like Columbus near the lake for an hour or so. It was awesome. It was like the coolest. Just everybody was. Despite the fact that we were like protesting and it was kind of a reaction to a negative thing that's happening, it was like the most positive environment, and everybody was unflinchingly polite. Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot of like, excuse me, like everybody's crammed in. It's like, oh, excuse me, oh, sorry, oh. Like kids in costumes, dogs being really cool. So anyway,
Very happy, it seems, despite the circumstances.
right. It felt like a big beginning. It felt like
Yeah.
a coming together moment, which
Yeah,
I
hope that sticks
thrilled about. I kept
through
getting
at the end of this year when you
emotional.
can vote these people out.
Yeah.
I think the last time I experienced anything that sounds like that was 2008 when Obama got elected, because I was downtown for that
Oh, were you?
at his Grant Park rally. And the biggest thing about it was after all was said and done, people are just silent because they're just like, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
And high-fiving strangers and
Yeah.
hugging strangers and just this, we're all here together. And it was just the most unbelievable. How often are you in a crowd of who knows how big that was?
And you're
And people are just awesome to each other.
yeah, and honestly,
It was cool. I've never seen that in Chicago before. Like, I've been to big events, and it's just
Right.
like, just everyone stay away from me. I'm going to the Taste of Chicago. I'm just going to eat. Get out of my way.
Well, that was your first problem, is going to the
Yeah,
Taste
I
of
know.
Chicago. Well, I mean, I will say we went to the Cubs rally last year after they won, and it was
Okay.
not of the same like in importance, but in some level, like
Everyone's excited and happy.
and
it
just
seems.
happy to be there and
Yeah.
supportive of each other and like chill, and it was very, very nice and cool.
What else happened in January?
So thanks to Kate, Kate filled in some really gaping gaps. Sorry, I said
Yeah.
that. Because her first contribution is the Hollyweed sign appeared, which happened on New Year's Day. I honestly, I don't know who did it. I don't know if they know who did it. I don't care. Like, what a time to be alive. The Hollyweed sign. So the Trump tried to do his garbage with immigration.
And the travel bans.
And the
stuff.
travel bans and all that, which I remember happened literally like you and I did like a first week recap or something like that. And literally from the time I left here to the time I got home, which is 10 minutes away, I was like, well, fuck, we missed an entire like sweeping movement.
Everything we just did is out of date, and it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But what I thought was most interesting and compelling were the protests that, again, like I think this year was a garbage year, and don't get me wrong on that. It was a big flaming garbage year. But I think
You said that about 2016 too.
yeah,
Which
no,
also was a end of the year
garbage year. Yeah.
You know what I
But
still think about to this day?
What's that?
One tweet that I'm sure many people had versions of in 2016 that's like, Remember in July when everyone was just happy and out playing Pokemon? And it was just nice out, and you didn't worry about everything.
Yep.
And then it all went to hell forever.
Well, the funny thing about 2016 is like everybody was calling it a garbage year because people kept dying,
Right.
like big names kept dying, which is, and don't get me wrong, sad, but it's a different out of control sad of like, oh, these things coincidentally keep happening. There's a trend in the garbage this year. So, but anyway, again,
it is nice to know for
the
response to the travel brand. You had all these people putting their minds together to say, let's go to airports. What can we do to help these people? And let's use lawyers to fight back in court, which is still going on to this day.
And interestingly, it wasn't just in big cities. It was happening all over the country, anywhere there are airports, which I think is cool because I think people tend to use the, coastal elitist type thing and like people in middle America, which I think is condescending and reductivist, but whatever. Like people all over were like, hey, maybe we should treat people like humans for once in our fucking life. Richard Spencer got punched in the face twice.
I still have no opinion on that.
Okay.
I know people get very passionate about punching Nazis.
Here's the thing. Yeah. I don't advocate violence personally. Would Jessica personally punch Richard Spencer in the face? Probably not, and not just because I'm physically weak. But I do hear the argument that sort of standing by and doing nothing but like use our wits and Twitter, like these people are not to be reasoned with. These aren't people who think that schools should be less funded because brown kids. These are people who think that like
you should mock him and make him just a punchline. That would do more to discredit him than the violence. Whatever. I don't actually care.
I don't disagree with you. I just, So, another bad shit is Mayor Tyler Moore died. That was a big bummer. Chicago cops were the pits vis-a-vis civil rights. That should be a good shit.
February.
Yeah. Okay. So February. Brexit passes the House of Commons. Russia decriminalizes domestic violence, which frankly I didn't know about until I was doing research for this. The Title IX protections for gender identity were revoked. So this is really when we started seeing this shit hit the fan in a major political way. I think this is when I got the most angry at the Never Clinton people. Or the Bernie bros who either didn't show up at the polls or voted Trump. Because say what you will about Clinton, and like I've always been a vocal Clinton supporter, but there's no anybody who runs as a flawed candidate, she's no exception. However, to use this sort of terminology of like, oh, they're the same, oh, they're both this, oh, like there's no difference. I think that this is something that, like, I hope people who say that take a really good long hard look in the mirror next time because under a President
they won't.
Clinton,
if they were capable of self-reflection, we wouldn't be in this mess.
No, listen, I want to believe
I have way less empathy for those people.
Oh, it's not that I have empathy, it's that
You're trying to feel for them or trying to get their mindset?
Well, I mean, I feel like somebody who is a Bernie supporter, who I was always Clinton over Bernie, but I liked what Bernie had to say. I didn't necessarily think he could back it up, but I love that he pulled Clinton left. I love what he did to excite young voters. There was a lot I liked about Bernie, but the Bernie bros, and I know that's like a derogatory term or whatever, but they exist and they listen to our podcast. So it's you who I'm talking about, that if you stayed home on election day because Clinton was the nominee instead of Bernie, this is what, like the Title IX protections, these are the things we're talking about. Maybe they don't seem like huge deals, but they fucking are. Like these are far-reaching repercussions. We're going to be dealing with this for years to come. The Neil Gorsuch thing is something we're going to be dealing with for a generation because people couldn't get quote-unquote excited about Clinton. Like, suck my nuts on that one. That sucks.
The tax bill that's going to...
Which
Bernie people, you would think, would have something to say.
No, and...
Like it just made income inequality way worse. But apparently they didn't care enough to actually vote against it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
When they could have.
Do you remember the thing? So here's what I realized. This year was very, very dense, and there are a lot of things I just straight up forgot happened. Yeah. Like the whole thing. Do you remember when Kim Jong-un's brother got assassinated?
For like a day. Yeah.
And it was like
happened.
a weird thing. It was like, wasn't it the one where two women were
in an
manipulated?
Like they thought they were doing a talk show and
or not a talk show, like a reality show,
prank show or something. Yeah, so they threw poison in his face or whatever. It's messed up.
Crazy.
Not even on the radar.
Yeah, no, and which is, I'm sure if you dedicated like a half hour, like 2020 type thing to it, that's probably really interesting. But no, it got swallowed up by all this other garbage. The executive order on immigration, although that has been more or less held up. I don't know when it was that Trump basically said Hawaii wasn't really a state because a federal judge from Hawaii was like, no. Right. And he's like, since when's it a state? I'm like, I don't know, since the 20th century.
Well, he feels that way about Puerto Rico, that it doesn't count either.
I don't even want... okay, we're going to get to Puerto Rico. Okay, deaths. I should break these up by deaths because, anyway. Bill Paxton died. That sucked. Do you know who Bill Paxton is?
He's an actor.
Who was in...
I don't know.
Oh, come on. He was in Aliens. He had a very, very famous line.
Aliens.
Game over, man. No?
No.
Okay, well, Bill Paxton's best performance was definitely in True Lies, which is one of my... have you ever seen True Lies?
No.
Okay. Quick elevator pitch, True Lies. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a spy. His wife doesn't know about it. He rides a horse in an elevator. Bill Paxton is a used car salesman who seduces Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, a young Eliza Dushku, on a plane, a jet fighter of some sort. I'm going to watch it this New Year's Eve. I watched it New Year's Eve.
This sounds horrible.
No. Okay, Hemant. It's a very, very good movie.
Uh-huh.
You just have to take my word. So Bill Paxton died. That was a bummer. Bill Paxton was very good in that movie. Norma McCorvey. McCorvey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't read that just now.
Yeah.
Who most famously was the Roe of Roe v. Wade. She passed away, which was a bummer there.
And she turned out to be anti-abortion later in life.
But
even though she was the plaintiff to have the abortions.
The good shit. Did you watch the Oscars last year when Moonlight won?
I did.
The most buck wild ceremony of all time. Mikey, literally, my husband went to bed when they announced. So if you didn't watch, they
announced
and Clyde.
La La Land.
I can't think of who it was. They announced La La Land as the winner. Even the guy was holding Warren Beatty, maybe.
Yeah, Warren Beatty
was holding the wrong envelope. He was holding the Best Actress envelope. And so they announced the wrong thing. They did their speeches, and then they're like, psych, it's Moonlight, which was an awesome movie, and I was so thrilled for it to win. But Mikey was already in bed, and I was like, a thing happened. Maybe you should come down and check this out. So that happened, and then...
I've never been so amused by two movies I've never seen.
Moonlight was very good. It was very... Okay, I want to talk to somebody about Moonlight, because I've heard so much... Because it's in 3 acts, basically. It's when he's a kid, when he's like a young adult, when he's an adult. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, oh, I loved the first 2 acts, and then I was kind of bored by the third. And for me, the third act was like some of the most riveting movie watching. Like the tension was so palpable. I was on the edge of my couch. Anyway, if anyone wants to talk to me about that. February, other good news, a lot of entertainment stuff, but Get Out, I saw in February. I don't know if it came out in February. I don't care. It was so fucking good.
I did see that
You
one.
did?
I did.
Isn't it amazing?
It was all right.
You're lying to me.
It was okay.
Are you kidding?
I love Jordan Peele. It was all right.
Get Out was hands down my favorite movie of the year. I went in knowing nothing. Okay. God, you're not fun to be enthusiastic with.
You know what was a good horror movie? Happy Death Day.
What is that?
I know. Oh. It was good.
I've never heard of that. Is that come out this year?
Yeah, it came out months ago. It was stupidly horrific.
That sounds good.
Funny.
All right, March. March is when Trump accused Obama of wiretapping Trump Tower, which is founded on 0 things. Was there any truth to that?
No, he was just trying to distract people.
Okay. Trump reinstated the immigration order. Honestly, like all of the shit kind of got garbled with the immigration stuff.
He fails once, so he tries again.
Trump starts to end climate change policies.
Pulls out of the Paris Accord. Is that when that happened?
No, Paris Accord is
later
because I have that listed. It's a line item. Chuck Berry died, that was a bummer. A van ran into... This is another one that I was like, oh, fuck, I forgot about this. A van ran into pedestrians on the Westminster Bridge in London.
I remember that.
So that was March. What a garbage month that was. And it's March. Like, nobody likes March. It's the worst month. I made it green, though, because I printed this out because I knew if you printed it out here, you wouldn't print it out in color.
That's
and the colors
right.
are really important to me. And then the good thing is that Flynn agreed to testify on Russia, which...
So it began.
began. But didn't they kind of... Because he did it in exchange for immunity, and they're like, nah, dog, we're
I don't
good.
know what the status is, and what... This is not a legal theory here. This is a... how long do they keep doing this? Because even if they get him and it takes like another 2 years, what's the damn point?
I mean, this is... Are you saying if Trump gets...
Yeah, if they
booted
like
out of
nail
office?
Trump or something, it's
what
like,
happens?
how long is
what
it going
happens
to take
with
for you?
Gorsuch? What happens with like all
Well, he's
the
in for
implications?
life. But
But
like,
like he was in on bullshit circumstances.
yeah, it doesn't matter. He's in.
bullshit.
None of it would matter. Like, the whole point is, because he could just say, look, I got it. Mueller could say, I got everything down to Trump. It's all his fault or whatever.
But
and then
everything's
what?
still...
And then what?
I just want him to go to jail.
Yeah, but he's not unless, like, I don't know.
I feel like treason is a pretty serious crime still.
I feel like
I know
nothing's
it's like
gonna
not
hap-
1800 anymore.
I
but
realize my Roy Moore prediction was off, but I'm like,
yeah,
I don't
fuck
think
off.
I don't think the Mueller investigation will lead to some big. It would be a mistake for us to pin any hopes on it. If it happens, all right. But like,
I feel like
as
that's
optimistic
an
and I
overly
wanna be.
pessimistic worldview. It's a mistake to pin any hopes on. Like
what's he gonna do?
I mean, the thing is, if they expose corruption in the Trump White House, like
we already know it's corrupt.
yeah, but if they do it in a legal sense, that like there is the possibility of like people being removed from office, and what happens to the presidency? Is Pence implicated in it? Who's the speaker?
I mean, they're all
Paul Ryan implicated. Like
it wouldn't. Here's
what
the thing.
happens?
Maybe there's some legal, political ramifications. In my head, like I already think these people are horrible and corrupt.
yeah,
So
but
it's
there's a
like,
difference
yeah.
between that and the law. Like
Right.
I've thought that men were garbage for years, but now people are coming forward and agreeing with me, so it's different.
But your view hasn't changed. It
My
just
view hasn't changed, but the world changed.
It confirms what you knew.
Yeah.
And here's what's scary, though. How many people
now
will
there's
change their minds about
But
Trump?
now there's consequences to their like. I consider
That's what I don't know that he's going to get any consequences, no matter what happens.
really,
Yeah,
but really,
yeah. And Trump will just pardon whoever could he can. And
he can't pardon himself. That's not how pardons work.
No, but again, I don't. For some reason, I feel like he's just going to get away with it.
What
Because
is
he's
your
gotten away
world
with everything
like?
else. It's very upsetting. He's gotten away with so much. Why would
No,
anything
he has.
else?
He is a person who has never had consequences for any of his actions in his entire life.
Yeah.
I hope that will change in
I hope it
2018
changes.
or 2020 or 2019. Listen,
Yes.
not picky. So that was March. God, we're through Q1
Keep going.
already.
Keep
Look
going.
at us go. April, Gorsuch sworn into SCOTUS. Fuck that. Trump decided not to attend White House Correspondents' Dinner, which
Not a big loss.
it's
a stupid event.
it
I'm
is
not a fan. It
stu-
makes me laugh, and it made me laugh when Obama did it, but it's a dumb event, and I didn't miss it. I like Samantha Bee's parody of it. That was amusing.
Yeah,
But the
I think
event
it's more
itself-
symbolic than anything. Like, yeah, it's a dumb
like he
event.
didn't show up to the Trump didn't show up to the Kennedy Center honors either. The one that
Really?
honors like 5 huge artistic great people, which again breaks with tradition because everyone does it all the time, even when you're being criticized by those people.
Yeah,
And whatever.
Yeah.
No one cared. No one wants him there. Not in that setting.
no, 100%.
And at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, like, again, stop celebrating the press. Just, I don't get that either. It's just the fawning over both sides. Like, you're adversaries. You're supposed to cover each other. Stop acting like you're all buddy-buddy. So if Trump's like, hey, we're not friends, I don't support this, yeah, fine, I'm with you. Don't show up. Let them salute themselves, and then move on. To me, that's a not... I get why it's on the list, but it's a non-story in terms of anything significant to me. Because whatever, you didn't need to be there.
I think, again, though, I would say that it is, and I guess not that we need another indicator of it, but another indicator of, like, Trump has no sense of humor about himself.
That's a good point. Yeah,
And
he would have to go up there to mock himself.
Yeah, and
listen to someone mock him.
Yeah, and I mean,
that
God, look what
couldn't
happened
do.
with was it Colbert with George W. Bush?
Yeah.
Which, like,
Colbert was fantastic
So good.
mocking it. And Bush sat there and listened to it.
Yeah,
Had
and
to.
that
Trump
sucks.
couldn't
But
do
like, that's
that.
also part. But isn't that so symbolic of, like, if you're, it's okay. I would argue that it is a microcosm of the fact that Trump cannot hear criticism, whether it's levied about lightly or with any weight to it.
Totally fair point.
And so whether or not it's important that he goes to the correspondence dinner, but it's also another thing that I was listening to. I finally listened to Pod Save America. So many people are like, you need to listen to it. And yeah, I do like it, you guys. I have a weird, specific, stubborn streak that if somebody tells me I would love something, I'm like, no, whatever. Like, it's the child in me. I'm sorry. But anyway, I was listening to it today, and they talked about how one of the things that you learn from the Trump presidency is many, many things that is expected of the president, that the president does, are rooted in tradition as opposed to law. And so many presidents have continued these traditions because they were, believed in the traditions and the dignity of the White House and, like, the things that you're supposed to do in the office. But also they were afraid of blowback or being shamed for not doing something. And when you have somebody in the White House who literally feels
Can't
no
be
shame,
shamed, yeah.
then, and yes, is the correspondence dinner important in the realm of things? No, absolutely
No,
not.
and like
nobody's
athletes going to visit Trump after they win a championship. Again, I get why they're saying no.
I
And
100% would say no.
and
I think
the
it would
fact
be,
that they're not doing it, though, not a huge loss.
it's
Not with this president.
but it's symbolic.
It's
It's all
symbolic.
symbolic. And honestly, what would you be more excited about? Going to the White House to visit Obama or getting the chance to turn down an invitation to the Trump White House?
Oh, see Obama, for sure.
Yeah, I know. But it would also be pretty satisfying to say no.
You know what I'm really curious about? I think you did this too. When you got married and you
Yes.
invite the president to your wedding.
I did not invite the president
I
to my
totally
wedding.
did. Just to get the rejection letter because that looks awesome. And it's like, thank you for inviting us.
Why didn't I think of that?
Oh, it's so fun. I wonder if people are still doing that anymore.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, people who like Trump, probably.
Oh, yeah. But
But
besides
they're probably
that,
not hearing back. I invited James Randi. He didn't even give me a rejection. That's rude. That's
Yes.
rude, Mr. Randy. Where are we, March?
I like this one, the good news in April,
Oh, April.
which is that the most hated woman in America, the Netflix movie about Madeline Marie O'Hare, came out.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't a bad movie. It got obviously a ton of things
Yeah.
wrong because it's a fictionalized account of what really happened.
That's Kate. Did you
but-
sneak that on there?
I did sneak that on
Okay.
there. It wasn't a bad movie.
I actually haven't watched it.
Oh my god.
I know.
It was good, though.
I'm sorry, I haven't.
Let me tell you about movies you should watch. No, but it wasn't bad. And it was a chance. The movie was not really about her atheism as much as it was. Here's a person who's very outspoken and pays the price for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how many people saw it who weren't invested in her atheism.
Sure.
But want to see the movie. I hope it got through.
Yeah.
It was good.
Let's see. There's a terrorist attack in Sweden, which honestly that's Kate dropped that in. I honestly don't remember. Like, with absolute frankness, I don't remember that happening. Don Rickles died. Aaron Moran, I don't know.
I don't even know who. Should I know
okay,
this
you
one?
know the show Joni Loves Chachi.
Sure. Oh, she was Joni.
Yeah. Oh God, I was
Chachi.
hoping you would say Chachi, and I was
I
going to
was
be
hoping to.
so excited. Yeah. No, she passed away. Again, don't remember that happening. I was in a haze in April. I adopted Dottie. She's such a good girl. April 29th. New York offers free college for families that earn under 125K. That's nice.
Go New York.
Chicago. I wrote Chicago Gort. So Chicago court extends the 64 Civil Rights Act to LGBT community.
Nice.
Great. We can do good things in spite of the orange monster. That's April. God, blazing through. Let's go to May. North Korea. This is its first entry onto this particular list, not its last, to be sure. North Korea is definitely a nightmare place that is going to end the world.
There you go.
So that's what I have on that. Anything to add?
No.
Cool. God, the bomb at the Ariana Grande concert in the UK, I think it was in Manchester.
That feels so recent.
Does it? See, it feels like forever ago to me. I remember a lot of things going around about the symbolism of who it was, that Ariana Grande is like a young woman who's very vocal and outspoken. And, you know, people apparently don't care for that. I don't hear about that ever.
Yeah. Another car drives into people on a London Bridge. And a stabbing after that.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yep. James Comey was fired.
Probably the dumbest thing Trump has done so far, because
Really,
it led
it
to the
is.
Mueller investigation.
And what I think was interesting when the Comey thing happened is that the left has long since criticized Comey. We as a collective,
For all the Hillary stuff, for the email stuff.
We've had a lot to say about him. And my favorite reaction was he gets fired and people are like, oh, the left hated Comey, but now he's fired. You all like Comey because you're just disagreeing with Trump. And it's like, well, I think there's this weird disconnect between, like, I can criticize somebody and still like them or respect the laws that are in place.
Yeah, and just because I disagree with you doesn't mean you have to be fired.
Yeah, with no... that was stupid. Was Comey the one that he asked for his loyalty?
Yeah, Trump supposedly asked for his loyalty, and he's like, I'll do my job. But even in the New York Times interview that Trump did yesterday, he's like, Jeff Sessions, what I appreciate about it, like Eric Holder, Obama's first attorney general, is that he was loyal to Obama. It's like, no, he just did his job, and Jeff Sessions' job is not to be loyal to you.
Yeah, loyalty is not...
That's not the job prerequisite for the job.
Yeah. Chris Cornell killed himself. He was the lead singer of Soundgarden.
Yeah, I think so. Johnson Amendment repealed.
That
Trump signed
happen.
with a big White House ceremony. It wasn't actually a thing. Now, they tried to get rid of it with the tax bill. It ended up getting excised from the final version. But they've been trying, and the religious right has been all for it.
Yep.
It hasn't happened yet, and nothing really has changed because it won't change anything that the churches are already doing. But it's a stupid idea that Trump pretended to do, and it's another thing that, no, he just put on a show for stupid people who don't understand that he didn't even have the ability to do the thing he wanted to do.
But honestly, and like the whole thing rings hollow to me because nobody enforces the Johnson Amendment anyway. So it's all just saber rattling. It's all this like show of force that nobody enforces the Johnson Amendment. So like churches are doing whatever the fuck they want.
Even if they endorsed a political candidate from the pulpit, and they've baited the IRS to come after them. The IRS has not come after them.
So what are we doing? And this was my year of like, where are the I think we finally are seeing consequences for some actions. Certainly not all the ones I would like to see, but like, if we have these garbage, if we're so fucking mad at like people who deal an ounce of weed that we're going to throw them in jail for 3 years, but like people are flagrantly breaking these other laws, like how am I supposed to think this is anything other than like people being racist? Like how, I know that's a long walk to get to racism, but like the fact that we focus so hard on some laws that realistically aren't super harmful, like small pot distribution, versus like shit that has tax consequences and matters in a bigger way. It's just fucking garbage. And it's bending over to protect people who are already in power and punishing those who aren't.
You're only going to get in trouble if you're not in the majority. And right now, that's what's scary. It's the Johnson Amendment. No, the mega churches. They're not. The IRS isn't going to go after the mega churches.
No.
But I don't know if another group did the same thing. If the ACLU or like a smaller church separation group endorsed candidates, you can bet the religious right would be furious about it.
Yeah, it's fucking garbage.
I like that the good shit all for this month of May included Kofifi.
There was another one that, like,
another example of both Trump's stupidity and let me just have this one thing because I can make fun of it for a few hours.
Yeah,
let me just enjoy this one.
I think most people know Kofifi. It's Trump inexplicably tweeted it. And again, it's not something that matters in itself, but it's what it represents. That Trump is so fucking fast and loose with his Twitter that he's making these sweeping declarations about trans people in the military is what I said, or whatever. And this is such a good window of like, hey, maybe we should take his fucking phone away from him. Like,
this was a typo. It could have been worse.
It was a typo. Like, God forbid we get into some like his tweet drafts and send them out. Like, France got a new president. That Kate put that in there. I don't know.
Congrats, France.
Yeah, good job, dog.
You got the right one.
All right, June. Ooh, a lot of things happen in June. Kate was really upset because we didn't have anything on the good shit for June, so she really dug in for that one. All right, so starts with the U.S. withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement. Again, this was an interesting thing to happen because things like this do, I think, give localer, so like state and local politicians, a chance to sort of, peacock a little bit, because so many people were like, okay, fine. Like, you do whatever the fuck you want, Washington, D.C. Like, Chicago is staying with these accords. We're going to, the same thing.
We're going to follow those guidelines.
Right.
We're going to try to achieve energy independence, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the city, the mayors, they took control of this because they're like, if our government's not going to do it,
right,
well, we could still do it, and it's a good idea. So there you go.
Do you like this wine, by the way?
It's not bad. It tastes like wine.
I actually really like this. It's a big wine for 2:30 in the afternoon, but it's Menage a Trois Decadence.
Ooh.
It was like $7, but it's got gold foil on it. It's very good. 2016, so it's good.
There you go.
That doesn't mean anything. It's aged. Yes. Literally 12 months.
What stood out to me for June is for the Supreme Court. That's when they issued that decision on Trinity Lutheran Church, and that's the one where they said, you can give taxpayer money to a church as long as they're using it for ostensibly secular reasons. And we can argue whether that counts. But so far, here's what's interesting. I think it was like a 7-2 decision. It was overwhelming in support of the church. And we have yet to see huge repercussions for it.
But that doesn't mean they're not coming.
But they could be coming, yeah. So what else will churches try to get taxpayer money to support? Who else was dissenting?
I see Sotomayor. Was it? Oh, speaking of dissenting, do you see my new necklace?
What does it say?
It doesn't say anything. It is Mikey got it for me for Christmas. So whenever Ruth Bader Ginsburg writes a dissent, she has these lacy, and they're not called collars. RBG collar is called... Oh, I'm not on your internet. Good job, Jess. Fucking idiot. They're like the lace things she wears over her robes, and she always wears this specific one when she reads a dissent. And so it's like a necklace version of that. Mikey got me that. And like 50% of the proceeds go to like shit I like.
Nice.
Anyway, Mikey got it for me for Christmas.
Like
anyway, so you don't know who else it was?
I forgot. But it's the Sonia Sotomayor's dissent was just blistering, saying this is not what you should do with church-state separation.
Liberals write
but she wrote it really powerfully.
Dissents.
Bernie Sanders also questioned one of Trump's nominees for like the Office of Management and Budget.
Oh, this happened in our disappearing episode because we talked about this briefly. So, and the problem we had, and I think you got blowback right on your blog.
Oh, it was, you know what? It was weird because there were a lot of people who said, yeah, Bernie Sanders, basically an anti-gay guy, was up for an Office of Management and Budget position.
Right.
And Sanders was like, you wrote this stuff on your blog, therefore I can't support you. And so people are all for it. The problem with that is I don't really care what this guy believes personally, even though it's disgusting, unless there's a reason to think it's going to come into play in his government job. Mm-hmm. And if he said, for example, and he didn't, but if he said something like, yeah, I hold these religious beliefs, but it wouldn't affect how I do my job.
Well, but we do see shit like that. Who is it who always says I'm Christian, conservative, and Republican in that order?
Pence.
Oh, is that Pence?
Yeah.
That motherfucker. Mm-hmm. I hate that guy.
Yeah, well, Pence is saying I'm basically going to legislate my beliefs whenever I get the chance.
And that we should call out.
Yeah, we should totally call out. This it's not like Bernie Sanders pointed to anything this guy was going to do, like, I'm not going to give proper housing to black people or gay people.
No, that's Trump's job.
Yeah. So it's like, you didn't point to anything this guy was going to do badly because of his faith. you can't just dismiss him because of it, because you know that's going to happen when atheists come up, or
and we have to
Muslims
be better than
or
that.
any other minority religion. So I didn't like that, and I didn't think it was right for Sanders to call out this guy on his faith.
He didn't handle it well.
He didn't handle it.
He
right.
didn't handle it well at all. Let's see. Oh, okay. So when we talk about, I think that there are moments that. Oh, okay, I should speak for me instead of us as a collective. For me, there are moments that I'm like, oh, I guess we have lost this particular argument, this case. So, for example, I lost faith that we'd ever have sensible gun laws after Sandy Hook.
Right.
If that didn't change people's mind, it was rich, mostly white kids in Connecticut, in an affluent suburb, who were gunned down senselessly. If that isn't triggering us to say, like, oh, we need to rethink our gun policy, I sincerely cannot picture what would. And it's like we talked about it with Moore. Like, what worse scenario could you paint than this particular scenario? So Roy Moore, it's like a pedophile who has assaulted women. For Sandy Hook, it was children getting slaughtered.
Assaulted women.
What?
What?
Huh?
He allegedly molested a kid and like hit on women.
Oh, okay. Well, he sexually assaulted women.
That 14-year-old girl,
Yeah.
yes.
Anyway, the point stands. Yeah, I'm not as eloquent as I wish I was, but the point stands of like these are the worst case scenarios that we can paint.
Right.
And so for me, the moment I felt like we've lost the ability to keep police officers honest with what they're doing was the Philando Castile case. If you didn't follow it, if you didn't see the video, it fucking affected me personally really hard. Essentially, a black man got pulled over. God, I don't even know where he lived. And it was complying with the officer, told him that he was carrying a weapon, that he was licensed to carry. His girlfriend, I think, immediately started filming both of them. And the officer, shortly thereafter, the officer shot this man because he perceived him as being a threat. And you watch on camera this man bleed out in the driver's seat of his own car, who had done nothing but comply with the officer's demand. This officer who did that, he was acquitted of charges, and to me, that was I think them saying that any black man is a substantial threat to an officer and is perceived as a danger just by existing. And I think the fact that this man was well liked in his community, I think he was a lunch man. He was from what I've seen, maybe not a model citizen, but certainly a great contributor to his community. And all of that added up to like, oh, no, we just super don't care what happens to black men. And I think a lot of things have happened this year that have buried that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but the police brutality, I think it's something that's really fucking terrifying. And it is, personally, it's not something I worry about for myself. I don't know if you have a different experience walking through life as a brown dude.
Not when it comes to police.
You look kind of nerdy though, so you're probably not a threat.
I'm safe.
But
yeah, when it comes to police, no, I've been fine.
Yeah, but airport. I remember,
airport security, different issue.
When I flew to Memphis with our recording equipment in a bag, I texted him and like, shit, security sucked, and he was like, imagine doing that as a brown guy. And I was like, oh, actually, but like a friend of mine is black, and she knows every right she has to a fucking T. She said, like, she was telling me all about, like, with your cell phone, like, they can't make you put in the passcode, but they can make you do this. So if you see a cop who you think is so restart your phone because you have to put in the passcode, they can't make you do that. Like, she does her research because this is something that she has to deal with. And, like, I don't know, what else do I have to say about that? Like, that was a hard one for me to swallow, and that was the moment I sort of lost lost faith that anybody cares about what happens. Like anybody in power really cares what happens to like black people, especially poor black people in this country. Which is I'm Kanye Westing this particular podcast. You're the Mike Myers.
You're not
scenario.
wrong.
No, I'm not, and that sucks. Adam West died. That was a bummer. He died on the day of my cousin's wedding. So Mike, you wore Batman cufflinks. He's very cool. There's a fire in London. Sorry, Kate, I didn't do any research on that. This was an interesting thing that we talked about in this show, that Elon Musk and Bob Iger from Disney. They both resigned from Trump's advisory council because everyone hates him.
Yeah, he doesn't have any real
really
advisory.
editorialized on this list.
They don't have any advisory councils except for the evangelical Christian one, which still exists because they're fine with him.
They're fine.
Except for like one guy who left or whatever. The rest of them are like,
brave.
well, again, I still don't understand because they'll publicly say, well, we don't support all the stuff he does. But he's not listening to you if that's the case, because you supposedly tried to talk him out of it. Then what are you doing? If he's not, he's just using you for show.
And again,
how do you not know that?
And a lot of this, I think this year was a lot of like symbolic shit of like, maybe Elon Musk could have done more good than harm, like staying on that advisory council. And you and I could have.
Trump would listen to that council.
But even without that, like maybe he could have been a voice of reason. Maybe he could have done this. And we also talked about like this is fucking June, and really like what just happened that finally like broke a camel's back. But again, it's as symbolic as it is anything of like I am not going to stand with this person no matter what. Even I don't know. That happened. Okay, that's June. All right, we're through the first half of the year. How are we doing on time?
We'll speed it up. July, my favorite thing that you have on this is that Spicer resigned, and then you had Anthony Scaramucci for like 10 days as the White House Communications
what a time to be out.
Director.
Okay, I was looking this up, and I apparently don't understand any of this shit, because Scaramucci was the communications director, but not the... Because Sarah Sanders is she's a CJ Craig.
Press secretary.
Press secretary. But that's not the same thing as the White House communications director, right?
Right. I don't know who the...
So that I didn't understand. I thought it was
There's
Spicer,
hierarchy.
then Scaramucci, then Sanders. But I could be wrong. Also, I don't care. Those people are a dumpster fire. All of them.
Because it doesn't matter. It's just the revolving door of liars. My favorite thing in July, though, was Ark Encounter, the Answers in Genesis people, because they already had an $18 million tax break because they were a for-profit group that was bringing tourism to Kentucky. They changed their status to a nonprofit just to avoid a 50-cent per ticket local safety fee. And they lost the $18 million.
But did they actually lose that?
They actually lost it. But they had like 30 days to change what they were doing to get it back, and they did. But basically, these people who are already the dumbest possible people in science turned out to be idiots at math, too.
Let's put quotes around it.
Yeah, they can't do math either.
Yeah, no, that was absurd.
They really thought like they wouldn't be penalized for what they were doing from gaming the system.
These are people who never faced consequences. I can't stress that enough. Of like, these are just white dudes who have been wandering the earth without facing any real consequences for their actions, and they think they can do whatever the fuck they want, and it's dumb.
Ken
and
Ham thinks he's above the law because he's whatever bringing tourists.
Because his suits are so
in.
big.
Yeah.
He's keeping the suit fabric industry.
Going to, I don't know if there's anything else in July.
No, there is. Don't skip over July.
I'm not skipping over July.
How could you? Doctor Who casts Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. I was very excited for everybody who's not named Emmett Meta.
That sounds about right.
John Hurd died. Who you've seen Home Alone, right?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen Home Alone? That was really non-committal.
I have.
Okay, well that's the dad.
All right.
He
Sorry
died.
to lose him.
Yeah. Also, June Foray died, which to me is really significant. She was the voice of Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle and Natasha and Cindy Lou Who. And the reason it really affected me is there's a documentary I'm obsessed with that Mikey also got me for Christmas because it's not on Netflix anymore, and it's called I Know That Voice, and I'm obsessed with it. And if I have two
about animated voices,
it's about voice actors, and
neat.
it is my favorite thing that's ever existed, and let me tell you why. It is an excellent mix between wow, these people are super talented, and wow, these people are so like they have the worst like little brother syndrome I have ever seen in my entire like they get so mad that people don't take them seriously enough. So they like talk about themselves in such grandiosity, and I've probably seen it 20 times. I know most of it by heart. It came off Netflix. Mikey bought it for me for Christmas on DVD. I'm watching it on New Year's. Anyway, she was in it. She was excellent. Guys, I cannot recommend this enough. It's on YouTube. It's not great quality, but listen, it's just tweet at me when you watch it. Okay, that's July. Spicer resigned. No. Before Chris Christie, who I think is holding a current record of lowest approval rating for a governor. Yeah. So I guess the government of New Jersey was shut down because of budget garbage. And that shut down a lot of like public beaches, and he was like videotaped on the beach with his family. Like, dude, be like, if you're gonna be corrupt, be better about it. Like, you have to be smart if you're gonna be corrupt.
Someone else who hasn't taken no for an answer.
Put a tent up. Like, it's how hard is this? That's why they can't.
These are not smart people we're talking about.
Like how? Like how? You went on the beach. You're not supposed to be there, dog. Like I can't. Okay, so July.
Guess what? He lost his election, or his replacement, his chosen replacement, lost the election. So.
Oh, did he?
She, I think.
Oh, she.
I don't know, but New Jersey's now overrun with Democrats in the highest office.
Dope.
So, look at that.
Was this when your kid was born?
Oh
my God! Tell me you know his birthday.
August.
Okay, well, on August. Devin's son was born. That's in the win column, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We like that one. He
cute.
Smiles a lot.
Oh, I haven't seen him in a while. I just checked to see if he was in the corner, as if like that's where you stash him. I haven't seen him in a minute. Okay, so August. This is when I was in Boston. I know everyone's wondering.
Oh, yes.
I was in Boston and Maine.
My favorite story here, which is an awful
when I was
story,
in Boston and Maine.
was the Hurricane Harvey hit Texas. That's not happy. But the fact that Joel Osteen got so much pushback because people couldn't go to his church as shelter in the middle of a flood.
Yeah.
And he tried to make excuses later, some of which I kind of get.
That's the thing, is it was a huge failure on a PR front. Whether or not he did
biggest mega church in the country can't afford like a PR person who knows what they're doing.
Right. Like, because if he did the right thing, it is really and again, this year I guess was all about appearances, because this is very much symbolic of sort of Joel Osteen's whole jam of like, he's rich and he wants to give it to you.
Prosperity gospel.
Right,
I'm a nice guy. And then
until
the
push
chance
comes
you
to
could
shove.
help poor people.
And maybe and honestly, I don't know. I know we talked about it. Maybe his church was sincerely unsuitable for the needs of
Which
the
is
public.
what he ended up saying. He said, look, we've had flooding happen here before, and the idea of putting all these people in our church and it gets flooded, that could lead to even more catastrophe.
But here's what you do. Our next month of tithing is going to go all towards the hurricane victims. Here are 5 other places you can go to. Here, we're going to lend all of our transport vehicles to this. Like, this guy has the most cake fucking job in the country. Like, give back to Texas.
Yeah. But not funny, it's a horrible tragedy. It's that somehow the like squeaky cleanest Christian evangelical pastor in the country, whitest teeth in the country, somehow got a bad reputation because he screwed up like the easiest PR thing he could have done, which is, let me see what I could do with all my money to help poor people.
Yeah.
Screwed that up somehow.
It's the easiest that he has.
And it took days for him to even say anything.
So embarrassing. I want to do one more happy one before we get to sad stuff, because August was a heavy month.
I like that there was good shit that the solar eclipse happened because our world turned dark for a few seconds.
It was just something nice that happened.
It was nice.
Where were you for the solar eclipse?
I watched it. You know what? The baby had just been born, like days old, but we were back home.
That's why his baby's name is Eclipse Meadow.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard. So the baby was sleeping, So it's like, oh, hey, it's the eclipse and the baby
Jessica
sleeping.
Eclipse meta.
We can go outside and actually watch this thing.
Did
and
you
we
have
did.
the glasses?
Yeah, and we went
Did you
out
get the
and
glasses? They were like hard to get.
You know what?
You
I
just
think
looked at it.
our neighbors had it.
Oh, okay.
So we stole theirs and we looked outside. But like everyone was outside.
Yeah.
And the baby was sleeping, so who cares? And like
it was kind of
just
overcast in
interesting.
this area. I was at the dog park with my dog, and it was like really overcast, so I wasn't worried about it. But there was, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 older women who had brought their dog and like brought lawn chairs to the dog park and were just camped out and all had like either the boxes or the glasses. And so like I just hung out with them and watched the eclipse, and they like kept, oh, do you want to see it again? I was like, I do, Brenda, thank you. It was really fun and nice.
You know what was nice? It was just, oh, look, it's one of those things that even everyone on TV is just focused on this. You break away from the news for a bit.
Right.
Trump is the one dumb enough to stare directly at it.
That
everyone else, but everyone's just
that
looking.
picture gave me
We're
life.
all talking about it for several hours and not worrying about
and
other
it's cool,
stuff.
and it's science, and it's awesome. Somebody did bring a box to the dog park because they were worried their dog would look at the eclipse. So that was my day.
Nice.
Anyway, where are we? August. So Jerry Lewis died, Glenn Campbell died. Those weren't great. There was another fucking terror attack in Europe, this time in Barcelona. But one of the good things is Martin Shkreli was convicted. And not only was his conviction excellent, somebody released
the conversations with the jurors, potential jurors. And every single one of them was like, oh no, I'm putting this guy behind bars. He's a monster.
I read it and I was sure it was an Onion article. I was sure it was an Onion article because literally somebody's like, I know, he just looks like a fucking prick to me. And I'm like, what?
Nope, actual transcript.
No, that's literally what's it's the best. That guy, like, I know I try not to judge people on how they look, but his dumb fucking face, I hate it.
You can judge him for his actions too, because they're also horrible.
They're reflective. He's like a Chaucer character. Like his outward look reflects his. See, I was a literature major. I know shit about shit. Okay,
September.
But no, we're not.
No, we're not done yet.
I was trying to pad the Charlottesville white supremacy walk with good things.
There you go.
This was fucking rough. This was something that I don't think either of us ever thought we'd see in our lifetime. It was it was this like thinly veiled white supremacy march, and like even given it its most generous reading of it, it was very much an us versus them mentality, and the them was women. It was people of color. It was immigrants.
And these guys who participated in it are so dumb that they didn't wear covers or hoods.
And
like
then
when the KKK is smarter because they know we need to cover ourselves up. And these guys
we're
are
horrified that there are consequences to their action. Again, God, thematic this year is like, oh, consequences? Wait, a bad thing can happen to me because I do a dumb thing? Like, how could you? It's
people
just
lose their jobs over it. They're like,
their families. People lost their families over it. And like,
look at me feeling bad for you.
Yeah.
Meh.
And here's what I hate. And I want to nip this in the bud in case anybody brings it up. People always compare, especially with like wedding cakes and things like that. They compare like, oh, how come you can refuse to make a wedding cake for a gay couple? Mm-hmm. And that's bad. But if you refuse to make a Nazi cake for a Nazi couple, this very specific hypothetical couple, like, oh, all of a sudden, like the cake maker is in the right. And I want to be perfectly clear that like, I think it's garbage when people face consequences for their sexual identity and who they are as a person. If you're a Nazi or a white supremacist, or even just think, oh, I'm not a Nazi, I just think women have too much power, or whatever you had to fucking tell yourself to sleep at night. A, you're not a protected class. B, you made a choice for what you think. And C, what you are looking for is to actively push other people down. Whereas, say, the LGBT community just wants to, like, get married and have a fucking cake. So I just want to be very clear about that. Also, God, when they used tiki torches, and Tiki was like, no, dog, you're not with us.
You got slammed by the tiki people.
Torches.
All right, we're going to September because we got to wrap up soon.
Oh, God damn it, Hammond. We really can't rush through these next year.
I know.
Hurricane Harvey hit in August. Oh, wait, no.
Hurricane
September.
Irma in September.
Yeah, no.
The Juggalo March.
That was the Kate McDonald special right there. She put it in good shit. Atta girl,
Congratulations, Juggalos.
I don't remember. I remember the lead up to it. Do you remember what happened? Anything?
No one ever remembers what happens at a Juggalo meeting.
The snow leopards are no longer in danger. That's good news.
Yay.
Yeah. Hurricane Irma hit the Caribbean and Florida. There were 2 earthquakes. This is the month that the world was just fucking on fire. Like, this was the most symbolic month of the year, I think, because it was just like, oh, cool. Everything is either underwater or on fire, but like neither is helping the other. Cool. Great. Thanks,
Yes.
Earth. Sorry we fucked you. So
Hurricane Maria.
Hurricane Maria. I want to get back to that. Oh, Trump announced the end of DACA.
Mm-hmm.
DACA.
Yep.
I'm sorry, my Midwestern accent really comes out with DACA. Kate. All right, Kate, this didn't need to be added. She put bad shit, maybe bad. We find out there's something in the water, and there are going to be 3 new Kardashian babies. Kate.
3 more?
Yeah, 3 of the sisters are pregnant.
What?
Yeah, I don't know which ones. It's fine. This is when NFL season started. So people were kneeling. Colin Kaepernick was being dope as fuck. Trump started being a dickbag.
Started.
Okay, in that particular instance, he started being a dickbag directed at those
There you
particular
go.
people, which again, just racist and garbage. And
I forgot which state it is. Someone's trying to pass a state law that says if players kneel, the NFL owners have to give ticket buyers back their money.
Oh God, I wish the microphone could have captured that eye roll. My eyes hurt from that.
Oh, I heard it. I forgot which state it's in, but it's a dumb
So
one.
I actually had a conversation with my brother about this because I feel like there's a big Evan's so annoyed. He wants to go. There's a big disconnect between like when I see people kneeling, it's like I want to make this statement about inequality in America or whatever. And people are like, you're dishonoring the veterans. And I'm like, what? Like, to me, that makes no goddamn... Like, to me, that connection is not even existent. But, like...
Well, it's not in the minds of the kneelers. That's not what they're doing.
And, again, and we talked about this before, you can like something and still criticize it.
Right.
You can love something and still criticize it.
Right. Anyone who says those kneelers are not patriotic is ridiculous.
They're the definition of patriotic.
Yeah, they want to make
Dissent
the country
is patriotic.
better.
I have a T-shirt that says that from the ACLU.
Then it's true.
Did I tell you when I was in a Whole Foods and I was wearing that shirt and an old white guy came up and he's like, I love your shirt. And it made me really happy.
One story that I think is going to be big in 2018 that happened in September is Kyrsten Sinema, the representative from Arizona who we thought was an atheist, but then she refused to use the label atheist, whatever. She's still cool on all the issues.
Yeah.
She's
one
or
of
less.
us.
More or less. But she is running to beat Jeff Flake next year in the elections, and he's the one that he criticizes Trump, so Trump doesn't like him. He's not good enough for the Republican base because they hate him for being too liberal, even though he votes every way Trump wants, so he's not good for Democrats.
So what don't they like about him?
He's one of the more vulnerable Republican senators who's trying to save his seat in 2018. And Sinema is running against him in the Senate, and she's good as a politician. Like, it's hard to pin her down because she's not a liberal Democrat. She's a pretty conservative Democrat, but she's good on all the main Democratic issues. So she's just a strong candidate to beat him. And that could be one of the she's one of the few, like 10 members of Congress who's listed as religiously unaffiliated.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, we could finally have that in the Senate. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's a race to watch in 2018.
Last thing in September, Hugh Hefner died.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously
he has flaws. He's done a lot for the First Amendment. I don't know how to think about him.
That's exactly why I wanted to kind of bring him up here, is that what I thought was most interesting that surrounded Hugh Hefner's death was the conversation that it sparked of, was he a feminist? Was he a feminist icon? Was he pro-women? Was he good for women? And frankly, I really don't know. Like, to me, what it kind of comes down to, so yes, there's the argument to be made that like women are using their own sexuality for their own personal gain, but the reality is women are also using their sexuality for a white dude's financial gain. Like he was the one who ultimately benefited the most off women, which again, it's assuming women went in with their eyes open, which I
wonder if it's part of the same conversation which about Al Franken, who I know is also on this list, but was he good for feminism? Despite whatever he did, that was a problem. And there were problems, and you could point to the problems with both of those guys. On the whole, though, I wonder...
if you take a step in 50 years, are we going to look at Hugh Hefner as
a hero or a guy who objectified women and made it easier to objectify them or something like that?
I wish I knew. Like, and we talked about this for a long time about Al Franken.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is he going to be remembered as a guy who fought for women's rights or which he did,
but he was also a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I find that so frustrating because I am like anybody else that I'm much more comfortable when my world is black and white. Like Trump is the bad guy always, always, always.
Yeah, it's scary when it happens to your own side. It's sad.
It is. Because you want the best from your
I did appreciate that whether he did it voluntarily or not, Democrats were like, no, you got to go too. Granted, I don't know what would have happened if Minnesota had a Republican governor who chose his replacement.
100%.
Like, his replacement's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And she's running again, I don't know, 2018
Oh, she is?
or 20.
I thought you said she wasn't going to.
She wasn't going to, and then...
Because she was the lieutenant
She's the lieutenant governor. She's going to take his place.
And she's going to run again.
But she said she's going to run for that seat as well.
20?
I don't know when, 18 or 20. But good, fine. Like, she's a fine candidate from everything I've read about her. If that wasn't the case, I wonder what Democrats would have done, but that's all hypothetical, so who knows?
Honestly, a thing you said when we were talking about the Franken thing has stuck with me about when I was saying, like, well, the Democrats have to be better than. And you were like, why? Like, why are we always the one who have to, like, toe the moral line and take the consequences?
When if Roy Moore won, the Republicans would have seated him and just been like, well, the Alabama voters chose him, so I guess we have to take him.
Which is literally, like, whether or not he won, that's what people were saying. People on the right were, like, had seeded that already of, like, we're going to let the voters decide. They assumed he was going to win,
so there you go.
I don't know, because I know in my heart of hearts, like, we have to stay
it's the right thing to do to get rid of these people.
We have to be the right thing to do. But there's consequences to it.
Yeah. Again, I wonder for the people who didn't want to see Al Franken resign or felt he should resign. That's what I mean. The people who really wanted him to resign, I'm really curious if he were replaced by a Republican. Where do you stand on that? I have
no idea.
Where do you stand on that?
And if you put in somebody who's objectively worse for women in terms of lawmaking.
Yeah.
And God fucking knows what his replacement would be. You know what I mean? Like, what if the governor of Minnesota was going to replace Al Franken with Roy Moore? Like, or
someone like that. Or just who had those views, minus all the molestation. Like, but who held those conservative views? Would that have been a wise move to let him go?
Probably not.
You got to choose.
You got to
choose. Keep Al Franken with the accusations against him, or have someone else. It would have been a really hard, hypocritical choice for a lot of people.
No, I think if that were the case, I would sleep okay saying, don't step down, but don't run again. I think that would be
And if a Republican was going to take that seat, like because had an easy path to victory and Al Franken wasn't going to run and some unknown Democrat was going to lose?
I mean, I think if in this world that we're building...
It's a lot of hypotheticals.
It's a lot of hypotheticals, but it would be, Al Franken, you're not going to run again. Also, it's your fucking duty to, like, pour every ounce of, like, effort and influence you have to get a good Democrat on the ticket.
That's what Obama did for Clinton. Didn't work.
Yeah, well...
And look what happened now.
Also,
again,
people hate women, so I really need to
it's more
keep
than
that in mind.
I'm just saying, like, if the choice was to keep Franken and deal with that, it's not easy, is what I'm getting at. I don't know the answer. But it's something to think about, because it's probably going to happen down the line where we're faced with having to, quote-unquote, purge someone.
Well, it's almost identical to what happened in Alabama of, like, it is somebody who.
Like Roy Moore supporters?
A Roy Moore supporter. A Roy Moore, like, if people were willing to deny his accusations and, like, what? He stands for everything we stand for. And then a Democrat swooped in because he was not a great candidate. That could have easily happened in Minnesota on the flip side.
And I think what we learned is most of the people sat out of that election that could have swayed it. A lot of people supported Roy Moore anyway.
It's... I would say the Alabama thing is very similar to what happened in the 2016 presidential election, that like even people who would have voted for Roy Moore just weren't excited about him and so stayed home, and that's what cost us the election.
There's a website called Get Religion where it's journalists who talk about how mainstream articles about religious issues, they talk about where they get it wrong, or they didn't include this voice that you should have.
Oh, interesting.
I find them to be more annoying than anything. But what they're doing is a fair thing to say you missed this important voice. Fine.
It's very much what you do on your website.
One thing they get frustrated by is that when people say 81% of white evangelicals voted for Donald Trump and roughly the same number voted for Roy Moore. Mm-hmm. And they always criticize every time the media points that out, because what they say is they didn't vote for him because they liked him. They voted for him because the alternative was awful or whatever. I'm good. They voted for him because the alternative wasn't acceptable to them.
Right.
Like, they didn't like Donald Trump, so stop implying that, is their point. And
Which
to
is,
me, it's the wrong point to make. They were not bothered enough by his sexual harassment and his racism and his bigotry to say, you know what, those are deal breakers for me. They didn't care. So I don't care that they didn't enthusiastically vote for Donald Trump or Roy Moore.
You fucking voted for him.
You voted for him, and despite all the huge red flags that were up there.
That's always, yes, you're 100% right.
In Trump's case, it was blatant. I mean, it's not like he said the stuff about Mexican rapists, whatever, in private. No, that was part of his stump speech.
No, honestly, wait.
And they didn't care.
I think the thing that sums that up the best is if you voted for Donald Trump, that doesn't mean you're a white supremacist. It means you're okay with a white supremacist being in office, which, whatever. Okay.
We got to keep going.
Okay,
October,
I'm
burning through.
October, my birthday.
Happy birthday.
I don't think that made it in here.
It's not on the list.
There were bombings in Somalia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Yemen. Wildfires in California, Portugal, and Spain. So the world was, again, literally on fire. Mm-hmm. Puerto Rico, like, October was a really rough month for the whole Puerto Rican situation. I think it was in October. It could have been September, but when the governor of the mayor of San Juan, when the governor of Puerto Rico, they were just like, could you please help us? And Donald Trump was like doing jerk off motions at them. Mm-hmm.
Not helping.
That was really hard to see. The Las Vegas shooting happened.
And hey, guess what? We haven't done a damn thing about that. Which is surprising to me. Like, country music concert, like 500 people, whatever.
Again.
Nothing?
However many white kids were killed in fucking Connecticut. New Hampshire. Connecticut. Nobody did anything about that. They were in Vegas. They were sitting. You know, like, it's just garbage. It's fucking garbage.
Yeah, it's surprising that, like, that's so off the radar now. We haven't talked about that. Yeah. That was out of the news after, like, a week or two.
Immediately. And also, you know what nobody talked about? This happened the same day I found out my writing contract was cut short with my company. Nobody talks about that.
No one does talk
media.
about that.
The guy got dragged off of the United flight. That was horrifying to watch. Do you remember the terror attack in Manhattan?
I do not.
Yeah, somebody drove a truck into the thing.
Oh,
anyway, 8 people died.
I kind of vaguely remember it, but this is the point. Like, the 500 people got shot in Vegas. It's not even in the news anymore.
Yeah.
That's how scary things are when you have people in charge who don't give a damn about any of this.
Yeah, you're 100% right. This is the kind of shit that happens. Tom Petty died, which fucking sucked. Full Moon Fever was my family's jam, and Tom Petty and Free Fallin' was the first song I learned how to play on guitar.
Look
it's 3 chords.
3 chords.
Could not recommend it more highly.
Go.
Fats Domino died. To be fair, I didn't know he was still alive. That's rude. Robert Guillaume died. He was the voice. Emmons making a confused puppy face. He was the voice of, the baboon in Lion King, whose name was Rafiki, got it.
Oh, yes.
But he was also in sport. This is personal. He was in Sports Night, which is Aaron Sorkin's first series before West Wing. He was Isaac, I think was his name, and just like he was just the grandpa I wanted.
There was
really
news
sad.
that New Zealand's prime minister, newly elected prime minister, was openly agnostic, not religious,
Whoa.
and you don't hear about her because she's not a dumpster fire.
Yeah, New
So-
Zealand continuing to get shit
Nice
done.
job,
You
New
gave
Zealand.
us Lord of the Rings. You gave us Flight of the Conchords. You gave us. I went horseback riding there once. It was great.
Nice.
the
You gave
me-
us Jacinda Mania. Nicely done.
Me Too happened. That was. God, that was very meaningful, but also it felt like the 14th time women were like, "Hey, we all get harassed," and guys were like, "What?" Because I felt like that happened around the grabbing by the pussy thing when the Trump thing happened. That women were like, "Yeah," like guys were like, "We don't talk like this," and then they're like, "No, we talk about it in the locker room," and it's like, well, those are two different things. And also, women are like, "Yeah, men are garbage to us a lot," and guys are like, "How come you never told us?" Like, it's once a year, women as a collective have to be like, "Hey, guys, sometimes we get treated but like garbage and we don't super like it. Could you help?" And they're like, "Oh, how come you never told us? How could you?" You're on blast, dudes. I'm getting toward the bottom of this bottle of wine. Are we still October?
Yeah,
Me
we'll
Too.
go.
Boy Scout allows girls. That was pretty cool. Oh,
Yeah.
this October was when the Weinstein accusers started coming forward. That was
Big deal.
a big and I'm pretty sure the Me Too and Weinstein things were linked pretty closely, but I don't know
Yes.
which came first. But I don't know. Like, I don't know why the Weinstein thing was different and why the Weinstein thing maybe just because he was such a big name in Hollywood and it lasted
And
so
I think it's partly because everyone in Hollywood, it seemed, knew that this guy was shady.
I think you're
But
right.
this, for some reason,
And
it
everyone's
had
willing to protect him.
15, 20 years, finally these women are saying, use my name, I'm going to go forward.
Yeah.
Consequences be damned. And it made a difference.
And the unintended consequence that happened here was that women started to come forward and this weird backlash happened of, like, for example, the Roy Moore thing. Oh, this happened when you were 14. How come you're saying something when you're 44 or 54? And, like, what happened? And the reality is, like, it's very hard to come forward with something horrible that happened to you when you assume nobody's going to believe you or care.
Yeah.
And
So if women think people are going to listen to them now,
of course they're going to
good.
come forward. And I think this was...
I think in 2018 you're going to see even more powerful people
Yes.
come down because of that.
You know what I meant to do is just do a list of all of the famous men who got accused.
We don't have
and
time
just
for
read
this.
It. Damn it.
It's too-
what
There's
time do you
too
have-
many names.
Anyway, Boy Scouts. Okay, November.
Church shooting in Texas. Another
Yeah.
one. We're not talking about it anymore. Again,
Which,
horrifying.
Again, like the perfect scenario for like this happened to. Was it? Wait, I'm sorry.
It was a white,
It was a white
predominantly
church,
white
right?
church in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And yet, nope, can't talk about it because what's the solution? Less guns, can't have that. So nothing has happened to curtail that except for maybe lawsuits against the Department of Defense for not, because the guy shouldn't have had a gun.
Oh yeah, because he was the one
but-
who was like dishonorably discharged
Yeah.
from the military. Was that him?
And the military was
I
supposed to say
can't
this
keep
guy.
track of the mass shooters in
Yes.
America.
There you go. But again, nothing serious done, not by Congress.
So sorry, I just chugged water. What do people care about? Is my question.
Who?
Who would be? I'm sorry, lawmakers.
Lawmakers?
What do they care about?
Money.
They don't care
taxes.
about children.
No.
They don't care about country music fans, again,
No.
predominantly. Because normally it's very easy. So like, there's a lot of
It seems like they care more about getting reelected than doing anything. This is not a big revelation. here.
No.
They care more about getting reelected than doing anything once elected.
Yeah.
So if they can get more donations for their next campaign, they'll benefit the people giving them money.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
just...
to what end? It's pointless.
You're right. It's to what, because I don't, because it's very easy for me to sit here and say, oh, they don't care about poor black people. So, like, 1 million people get shot in Chicago, South Side, West Side, and they don't give a fuck. Which obviously is not okay, but I'm willing to understand their point of view of like, well, it's inner city people, they brought upon or like whatever garbage views they have. But like when it's children, when it's white people at a concert, when it's people in a church, how do you say like, do they really believe in the Second Amendment? I don't get it.
I don't get guns.
No, I don't either.
And I know a lot of atheists.
It's easy for us to say, we're in the suburbs, guns are not part of our culture.
And I know a lot of atheists get that more.
Mm-hmm.
But again, even most of them, I find it hard to believe that there's no amount of regulation that would ever make sense, like, to them. Like, why is that a weird thing?
It's also a thing that they say you can't regulate guns because guns will still happen, but they're willing to regulate literally everything about my human body.
Right. Well, who knows what you're going to do with your body?
Have sex? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Can't have that now. So, yeah, I don't understand. There has to be we have limitations for everything else that is potentially deadly, like cars or whatever.
But
it's not going to happen.
It's always about,
it's not going to happen.
Cars aren't. I mean, the argument is cars aren't guaranteed by the Second Amendment, whereas the right to bear arms.
Neither are guns, but
I mean, the right to bear arms. I'm devil's advocate in you, which is garbage.
I know.
But I also lived in Montana, and like I have been around the quote unquote responsible gun owners who like they hunt and it's part of their culture and you better believe I fired a shotgun at a tree one time.
Places.
No, and they do, but also they use shotguns. They don't use fucking AR-15s, AK-15, AK-7.
I know that better than Star Wars. Like, you could do whatever, but, like, it's not going to happen until you elect decent people who actually care about victims. And the ones who are there don't. They don't care who gets hurt, whether it's country music fans or kids at an elementary school or people going to church. They don't care. Guns are more important than God.
Like, think of more important, like, quote-unquote capital A American things than kids and country music and church.
Mm-hmm. Guns.
We're
going to speed through the rest of November.
We've been speeding through this whole thing. Next year, we're going to block out 4 hours for this.
Jesus.
Legionnaire's disease, who cares? It's not who cares, but it's not as interesting as I thought it would be. Australians voted to favor gay marriage.
We talked about Al Franken.
Oh, Charles Manson died. Later, dog. You're the pits. Rand Paul got assaulted. I'm really sorry, Kate. I know she's going to be mad at me for putting this in good shit, but also, like...
That's a horrible... You know what? Of all the things he did, it's like, I don't think they did anything to prevent that from happening. Like,
where was his gun, Hammond?
I know. Like, but what are they doing to protect senators or congresspeople?
I think we skipped over the shooting at the Congressional Softball League.
Oh, yeah, the baseball game that they had.
Yeah, that, like, again...
You're hurting your own people now, or your own people are getting hurt, and you're still not doing anything about guns.
Physically. I'm not talking about hurting your pocketbook. People are getting fucking shot on the Hill. Whatever.
I really... Steve Scalise is the guy who got shot, and I wonder... I'm not saying this because I wish this upon him. Had he been fatally injured, would that have changed the conversation at all? I don't think it would, because Gabby Giffords got shot and they did nothing.
Well, she's a liberal and a woman.
Right.
How dare she be
Right, so if a
either
conservative, who is actually a high-ranking conservative, was killed in a gun, whatever, incident, would they have done anything? I don't think they would have. They didn't do anything now. They were just like, well, he's back now. Yay. Right. Like, that's it. That's the only reaction.
UN imposed strong sanctions against North Korea. Charles Manson died. We talked about that. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle got engaged.
Congrats.
Obviously, Kate put that in. I don't have a strong opinion. You know what? Good for them. She's a biracial, divorced American. Like, that's dragging that family left, kicking and screaming.
If you're changing the status quo for the royal family, that's a good thing.
That's fine.
Yay.
That garbage tax bill got passed. Fuck that. Keystone Pipeline leaks. Obviously, that's what those do. Oh, Trump lifted the ban on the elephant trophy imports. Cool, really transparent guy. There's a serial killer in Tampa who got arrested. David Cassidy died. Do you know who David Cassidy is?
Heard of him.
Partridge Family. I think I love you.
Right.
Ray Halladay died in a plane crash. That was sad. He was a baseball player. He's very young. Don't act like you know. How dare you?
I watched the sport.
North Korea, again, Al Franken. Okay, December. Present day. What happened this month? Trump recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital, thereby...
It's a dumb foreign policy issue.
Very dumb foreign policy. Also, Christmas got canceled. I think I might be being reductive. Al Franken stepped down. The FCC repealed net neutrality. Hey, Hammett, do we have anything to worry about with repealing net neutrality? Like,
everyone has something to worry about.
No. I understand everybody does, but you and me personally on this podcast?
No one's listening. It's all good. They're not going to notice us.
Okay. So let's end on the good things that happen in December.
Doug Jones won. Good
Doug
for
Jones
him.
won. That was great. UN just like big time Trump pretty hard. Time magazine declared what would they call them?
The women that came out.
But they had the women came out in favor of not in favor of
People of the Year.
saying that sexual harassment is that they have been victims of sexual harassment. I'm really not trying to minimize this. Hemmett's just making me nervous because Michael flew him into a line at the FBI, Avi. And thanks, Kate, for this one. Vine might be coming back. I didn't know that until this very moment.
My life has changed. You know what's scary about this list? And this is not Kate's fault. This is not your fault. As you go down,
can blame Kate. She's not on this podcast.
There's way less about Trump as the year goes on.
Because we wave it off.
We wave it off. It's numbing the stuff that would have been big news. Like he tweeted the whatever stupid thing he just tweeted. Would have been a big deal. But now it's just, he lied. He just said something that could start a world war. Whatever. It just happens.
Ugh, classic Trump.
Classic Trump. Classic Republicans. They didn't care. Ha, ha, ha. Like, it's seriously, there's less on this list about Trump as the year goes on. And there's less in the news about, like, whatever thing he tweeted that should be a big deal. But it's like,
it's fatigue.
it is fatigue.
You can't. I mean,
That's scary.
We were out marching every.
That's why he could win again in 2020, and that's why Republicans could because no one pays attention anymore to the point where it's just like this is the way it is now.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that.
Like
I think
the
there's
women's
a difference
mart
between
that we brought up at the beginning.
No, I don't think that we can say I don't pay attention to every dumb shit thing that Trump says is the same thing as I am fine with what Trump is doing.
Let me rephrase.
I think those are extremely different, and I don't want to get those twisted.
Plenty of people think what he's doing is bad, but the energy you saw at the women's march right on after Inauguration Day, that's what has to happen in November of 2018.
I think it will.
I hope it does. Like, I'm banking on it, too.
I think it will, and here's
why. My fear is that if enough of this...
Look what happened in the...
Could the Women's March happen again this January?
Well, I mean, that's like saying, could the Reason Rally could barely happen again. Like, it's not like a thing that we have to do every week. It's a thing that happened in reaction to a specific...
Sure.
It's response to a specific incident. I mean... I think a more obvious indicator of what's going to happen is how many people we have running for office this year.
Which is more Democrats in the running
than ever
before.
And look what happened in fucking December. Like, look what happened in those elections. It's 2017 elections.
Yeah, no, it's happening.
Nobody pays attention to them. I think that it is. I think that your negative worldview, which is warranted,
this is not negative. This is more. Prove me wrong because I worry that this could happen in the same sense that like Michael Moore was like, I fear Trump could win.
No, but I think the pattern that we've been seeing since the 2016 election has only led me to believe that we are getting better candidates and people our age, 30s and 20s, care more about what's going on because they see the consequences. I think there's no...
I think what's going to happen, you're going to see more decent candidates running. You will see more extreme Republican candidates running for a lot of these offices because they're the ones who could win the primaries.
Right.
And I hope that means a lot of them, the Republicans, lose those elections. Yeah. I hope. But it requires people to be as vigilant a year from now as they were when he got elected and after he got elected and whatever.
I also think that like in 20 years we're going to be better off than we are now because in the next couple of election cycles we get more Democrats into office, we get more liberals into office, and then we can start undoing the shit that's been put into place, the gerrymandering and the voter suppression.
But again, this is all if we get these people in office, we could start doing this. And the worry is some people are just going to be lulled into this sense of complacency. I've heard this said about like that whole stupid saying about how the arc of history bends toward justice.
Martin Luther
Here's
King
why.
said it. Maybe
Yeah, and here's why he's wrong. It doesn't bend that way. Like gay marriage, for example, was not inevitable. It happens because people fight for it and they work towards it. It's not guaranteed.
No, but you're picking at his passive voice that the arc bends toward people tend to fight toward equality, and I think.
But it's not just going to happen.
No, it's not just going to happen. But saying that either it's just going to happen or like people are just going to like dick out. No, I think people are getting more liberal as a rule because
I do think a lot of people are going to dick out.
Okay, fine. Okay, we're going to talk in November 2020. And one of us is going to be
This isn't
crying.
a prediction. I agree with you. I think that it's so overwhelmingly against Trump that I think it's going to work in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I do think there are a lot of people who are just going to be like, well, politics is not going to be a way to change good things. I'm just going to zone out of politics.
I disagree with you. I think
hope
that
you're right.
this year, if nothing else, showed... Like I was talking about before, of like, oh, Hillary and Trump might as well be the same person. Like, no, it's demonstrably false. It's demonstrably false.
Yeah.
And I hope that people who care enough to say something dumb like, oh well, if you care enough to say, oh, the DNC was rigged, then you care enough to follow politics, and then you care enough to be like, oh, maybe I should just vote for blue, like.
Maybe.
Just to protect us.
I thought that would have happened years ago.
But
I thought it was obvious.
We've never had a Donald Trump.
We've said that about George W. Bush. It didn't. It happened that's why Obama's victory was such a big freaking deal, because you thought it couldn't get any lower, and then the amazing happens, and then Obama does whatever he does. There's good and bad things about it. We could have a discussion about that. But then, I did not think we could get somehow worse than George W. Bush after Obama.
But there's always
you thought the wave was always going to be there.
It's always a pendulum, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely unfortunately. But, the conversations we're having about, healthcare are more liberal on their face. So... I don't know.
And the next Democrats who are running are going to be running on universal health care.
Yeah, which is great.
If you can win.
What's your happy thing?
The year's over.
Wait, can I tell my happy thing?
Yeah.
How bad do you have to go?
Go.
Okay. I just want to tell a story that made my entire fucking... First of all, Courtney, I got your text. She texted me because she wanted my phone to make a sound so she could be in the podcast. Courtney, I fucking hear you. So my family... So I spent Christmas Eve with my folks in Wisconsin, and it was just me and my brother, my husband, and my parents. And it was all-time greatest Blimkey Christmas ever. We drank our house out of wine, and we played the most epic game of scat. So my dad is not a game player. He doesn't like to play games, mostly because I yell a lot. I don't know if you guys can tell that about me. But we played categories. And let me tell you about the most magical moment that's ever happened to me. We were playing a round, and the letter was F. And we all got halfway down, and one of the clues or the hints or whatever was a 4-letter word.
Oh my
God. And
God.
Obviously all 5 of us giggled because we're children.
Yes.
And so the timer goes up, and we all go around, and I was like, oh, I said flip, and my mom said, flap, and my brother probably said fart. And we all look at my dad, and he goes, I said fuck. And...
Everyone tried avoiding it because you knew everyone was going to say the same thing.
Yes, and
was
just
he the only one who said it?
Yes,
oh my
and
God.
just his thing, was that not what we were doing? It was honestly the greatest, maybe the greatest Blimkey moment that's ever happened. It was so fun, except for Mikey won's category, which I'm really mad about because the Blimkeys are competitive people.
And you lost to an outsider.
Lost to an outsider. Okay, I don't know how long this was. I didn't even make it through a bottle of wine. That's a shame.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Listen, for our podcast, 2017 was a big year.
You know what I was looking? I was looking through the list of all of the old episodes so that I could add to the shit list. And it's oh, you know what? It wasn't until earlier this year that we started just doing this weekly thing.
Oh, it really started when we did this last year that I texted you and I was like, I'm going to get shit-faced drunk and yell into a microphone for 2 hours.
And I'm like, sounds good.
You're very...
But yeah, it was good.
So cheers. Here's to you. Here's to a better... a better 2018.
Thanks for listening, all of you, especially those of you who've been
guys,
around forever. Thank you.
With absolute sincerity, this year has been a game changer. Like, I think we've always had listeners, but I think this is the first year I felt really engaged with you guys.
We hear from you. We can respond
we interact,
to you. We interact.
And it is, like, this has been a really shitty year for me personally as well as politically. So that's been kind of my shining light of this year. So, Hemant, where can I find you on Twitter?
Oh, right. I'm at Hemant Meta. Please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast.
I'm at Blueberry, BLUEBURIE. Friendly Atheist Podcast at gmail.com.
Etsy shop is
Bitches Get Stitched Done. You guys don't need to order anything right now. I'm still very behind. And all I want to do is not cross stitch for once in my fucking life. I just want to read a book.
And if you are interested, I just put out a book with a friend of mine, Camille Barachick. It's called Queer Disbelief.
Yeah.
It's good. Go get it. It's on Amazon.
Another thing, our 200th episode is like around the corner.
We should do something.
We should do something. So if anybody has suggestions. No, we should.
I'm listening.
Should we do like an AMA?
Sure. If you have questions, send them over.
Or let us know what we should do. We can't do a live show. I tried to orchestrate that. Hannah was like, nah.
I got coaching until the end of February. So,
but thank you guys. I wish you all a very, very happy new year. Be safe. Make good choices. We'll see you next year.
Bye.